Maybe, dude. I don't know. Probably is.
But if you want to sort of see like a vision of the future, it's like basically the top 20 and even the top 100 is like totally dominated by China.
Really?
Yeah, there's like China and a little bit of Korea, Taiwan.
So are you in the top 20 in the world or the top 20? Wow, in Diablo.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody your handle? No, don't tell them. Don't tell them. It's not worth it.
Well, they actually listed me with my actual name in the list.
Oh, did they really? Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's only 2 Americans in the top 20. The rest, almost everyone.
Dude, Elon's a fucking giga gamer.
We were talking about something that I think is a really good, because people always think that video games are frivolous.
It's like
but
crack
what you were saying, I think that's really important, is it's so difficult that it requires you to only think about that, and it can like relieve stress. It can take out the rest of the world because it's so hard.
Yeah.
You can only think about that.
Yeah, I mean, if I play a video game on extreme difficulty, then I have to concentrate fully on the game. And it has a calming effect.
Yeah.
It sort of chills down. I mean, you mentioned, I think, and many people like if you play martial arts or if you play pool, like something that forces you. It's like I think anything that forces you to concentrate fully actually has a calming effect. I find it just sort of like kind of a restoring effect. Mentally.
Yeah,
it's good.
Jiu-jitsu's like that.
Yeah.
Archery's like that as well.
Yeah.
Like when you're shooting a bow, you have to. There's so many moving things, and you have to think only of it, and it cleans the mind.
It cleans the mind. Yeah, exactly.
I was reading this study about surgeons, where they found that surgeons who regularly play video games make less errors.
Well, video games require manual dexterity, so it makes sense.
Completely makes sense.
Actually, if somebody was like epic at video games, I'd say like their surgical skills can be very good, because in order to be good at video games, any kind of fast reaction video games.
Look at this: 32% fewer errors, 24% faster, and scored 26% better overall than their non-player colleagues.
Oh, I believe that.
That's incredible.
Well,
that you should be required in medical school to play video games. Don't you think?
If somebody's like a top-ranked video game player and they say they're a surgeon, I'd be like plus 1, plus 2 type of thing.
Oh, top rank for sure. Well, but this isn't even top rank. This is just people who play.
Well, your manual dexterity has to be extremely high. Yes. So you're looking at things on a screen. You're reacting, and sometimes you got like 10 milliseconds to react.
Yes.
And so if somebody's got incredible reaction times and manual dexterity, they're obviously going to be a good surgeon.
Imagine if there was a course that you could take. That course would promote. You would be 26% better.
That's what
Everyone would have to take that course.
It's like, well, I'm playing Sunny Flight right now. I'm a fucking
prepared?
goated surgeon.
You would say, hey, Bob, did you take this course? You didn't take this course. Don't you understand this course makes you 26% better?
Sure.
You would have to take it. Everyone should have to play video games if you want to be a surgeon.
Well, I think it certainly would be a very good test to see if somebody can't play video games well. Like, that means... because you got to move both hands simultaneously.
Right.
You got to react to something very fast, then on the screen. So, and if your keystrokes or your mouse clicks or whatever are wrong, then you lose the game.
Right.
So, if somebody's has a good rank in video games, I would say that their manual dexterity must be extremely good.
Well, it's so
their fine
hard.
motor skills have to be excellent.
If you think about like StarCraft or any game like Quake, any game where a lot of people are playing, to rise to the top, you have to be exceptional. Period. As a human being.
Yeah.
There has to be something exceptional about you.
Yeah. Actually, for mention Quake, way back in the day, I was one of the world's best Quake players.
I know we talked about that. Yeah. I love Quake.
I think Saboon's actually exceptional.
My final semester in college, I probably put more time into Quake than all my college classes.
When I was on news radio, all of the writers were super nerds. They were very, very fun guys. And they had a LAN set up at the studio where they all played Quake. I had never played video games. Yeah. And I would go in with the writers, just kind of hang out with them. We'd get silly. And then we would all start playing video games and playing Quake against each other. And I got addicted, like hardcore. I got a T1 line installed in my house. I went hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. Checking how many milliseconds of latency.
Oh, yeah. I was fully addicted. I was making my own computers. I was going to Fry's Hardware and buying motherboards and putting everything together. And, it was too much of a time suck, though. Yep. I'm an obsessive person. I can't get involved. Like, I can't play golf.
No, dude.
Golf is too slow for me. I mean, I know a lot of people find golf good. And I mean, I guess if you think of it like I guess if you're saying you're going to walk outdoors with friends and occasionally hit a ball, then and you just as an outdoor walk, then that's cool. And it does require concentration when you're hitting the ball, but
problem with ball golf is it takes like 5 hours.
It's too slow for me.
Nothing compares to video games in terms of like the amount of feedback you get.
It takes too long.
Like the sensory overload you get when you're looking at a large, high-resolution screen. You have a fast computer. You have headphones on. Then you're hearing sounds from here and sounds behind you, and rockets are flying by you. And there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
But I think golf still is like Jamie will tell you. Jamie's an addict. He's a golf nut. It's super addictive, and it takes 8 hours a day.
It's once you get into golf, I think I guess any sport it gets super addictive.
Dude, you gotta send me that.
So,
dude, send me that on Discord.
The intensity of video games is hard to beat.
Yes, the people dismiss it because they think it's just a waste of time. But we're showing like real world benefits of people playing video games.
Yeah.
If you want to be a drone operator, it's the only game in town.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to get really good at video games.
Yeah, for sure. So, in fact, I can actually tell like what my mental acuity is if I play a very hard video game. So if I'm trying to sort of get like an extremely good clear time in Diablo or something like that, or any, a first-person shooter, whatever the case may be.
Not if it's too much work. But,
I can tell that I'm tired, or my brain's not working as well as it should. It's like a mental calibration. You can tell immediately. Like how good is your mental state?
Right, right.
So it's like if you're trying to play really well, like if you play late at night and you're tired, you just play badly.
Right.
And you can say, okay. You may think that your brain is working well, but it isn't. You play the video game and you're like, you suck. So okay.
You're putting it under stress. Yeah. You're really stress testing it.
You stress test it, and because like sometimes like I think I'm fine, but then you play the game like okay I'm not. I'm like 10% below what I should be. That's
how I feel about workouts for sure. Like that's how I knew I had COVID, or I knew everyone in my family had COVID, and I was trying to not get COVID, and so I was working out. I was like something's up. Like I felt fine normally, but then during exercise, I was like, okay, I can tell there's something wrong here. So let's just back off, relax.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like people who don't stress test their mind. They think they're operating on the same level all the time. Like sometimes I come in here and I can't form a fucking sentence, and I don't know what it is. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So it's just like
sleep's not. Maybe it's like sleep wasn't that good or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Or I'm too busy, and it's not. The words aren't coming out. Like I know how to talk. I talk professionally, and I can't fucking talk. It's like
sleep is massive. I mean,
huge.
So if I can tell immediately, did I get a good night's sleep or not? If I just play like a video game for like 5 minutes. Okay, my sleep wasn't that good.
You gotta start waking up.
And then sometimes your brain will recover through the day, and it's like okay, like an hour or two after waking up, it's better.
Yeah.
But your brain does kind of recover from bad night's sleep a little bit.
Do you know what really helps? Creatine, apparently.
Does it?
Yeah, creatine is actually a nootropic, believe it or not. There's a lot of benefits of creatine that are really weird.
Are there any downsides?
No, it's a natural part of food. Yeah, especially women. For women, apparently, especially postmenopausal women, it's very beneficial.
Okay.
And there's a lot of cognitive benefits, and one of the big ones that they found recently is performance when sleep deprived. Mental performance when sleep deprived increases pretty measurably when you supplement with creatine.
Is creatine naturally occurring in steak or?
Yeah, it's naturally occurring in meat. I think that's where it's coming from. I think it's primarily an animal-based thing. Yeah, but
I did switch to steak and eggs for breakfast, and I found that's like a power-up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're all overrun with carbohydrates.
Yeah, totally.
And you just carbohydrates make this big crash, the rise and the crash, totally. The rise and the crash. Yeah. You stay flat if you eat a primarily high protein, high fat diet.
Yeah.
Your body runs off ketosis. Essentially.
Yeah. I mean, so I just have steak and eggs, no bread or anything.
Yeah.
And
it's great.
It's great, actually. It's a power-up, I'd say.
People dismiss this whole carnivore diet thing because in our heads, there's a lot of propagandists that put this thing out there that animal agriculture is the number one contributor to global warming.
Yeah, it's rubbish. It's
bullshit.
Not true. Bullshit.
It's hot bullshit.
It doesn't matter.
Not only is it hot bullshit,
Irrelevant.
but the real problem is factory farming. Regenerative farming is carbon neutral if it doesn't sequester carbon.
The animals are not going to make any difference to global warming. Like none.
No, it's
zero.
bullshit.
Except for zeros, nothing.
Do you think that that's just propaganda because of people that have a vested interest in like plant-based meat products and things along those lines, green energy?
I think it's part of it.
It was a 933.
You know, you're generally going to get people pushing to avoid meat. Like some people just, maybe they've got a financial interest. Maybe they're just like vegetarians or vegans or whatever.
Ideological
reasons. But it's not going to make any difference to global warming or the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere. Really, if people eat fewer steaks, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, thanks. That's all I go through.
I want to be super clear about
that. Watch that episode.
Yeah,
it will not matter. You will not even be able to measure it. Okay, that's how irrelevant it is.
Isn't it funny that's
unmeasurable?
That's irrelevant. A heretic speaking. Like that's crazy talk now. Nowadays, it's like you have to say that we have to eat less meat.
No,
that meat is bad.
Totally eat as much meat as you want. It's not going to make a difference.
Sing it. Tell the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And if somebody says it does make a difference, I'm like, how will you measure it? And if you can't even measure it, then it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally I won't be able to measure it.
Well, there's so much bullshit out there. First of all,
it's bullshit in all directions.
Thank you so much for buying Twitter.
Thank
welcome. You so much. I'm not exaggerating when I think you changed the course of history. I really do. I really think you made a fork in the road. We were headed down a path of censorship and of control of narratives that is unprecedented. Forget about what they were able to do back when they had newspapers and the media under control. What they were doing with social media by suppressing information, and when you had a combined government effort, like with what they were doing with the laptop story. We have 51 former intelligence agents saying this is Russian disinformation. Take it offline. And Twitter complied. If you didn't buy that, we wouldn't have known that. We had no idea.
Exactly. The reason I bought it was because I'm pretty attuned since I was like the most interacted with a user on Twitter before the acquisition. So before the acquisition, I had more interactions than then. Like there's some accounts like Obama and whatever had higher follow accounts, but I had the most number of interactions of any account in the system. So I was very attuned to like if they change the system, I can tell immediately. Like and I'm like something weird is going on here. So there's like I just got recently uneasy.
I don't think I've done that before.
And obviously when they deplatformed the sitting president, they deplatformed Trump, that was just insane. And the things he was posting, like he was posting things that like he was posting good things. He was saying like, hey, do not riot, don't do any destruction of property, please stay calm. Like that's the kind of stuff he was posting.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's wrong with that? And then some people said like, oh, that's like some sort of dog whistle. He means the opposite. I'm like, okay, so we'll give you Trump's account. Now you post what you think you should post, because you can post nothing. You can ask people to calm down. Like what? It was insane. Like it didn't make any sense.
Well, it's completely illogical when you say it's dog whistling to tell his followers to not be violent. That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Don't you think they'll listen to him?
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole point? They listened to him and created violence in the first place? That's what you think. That's what you're accusing him of.
Right.
And then there's the fact that we know that there was agents in the crowd that were agent provocateurs that were encouraging people to do illegal shit.
Yes.
We know that for a fact. This is not... That was always the big Alex Jones type tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, because Alex proposed that back at the World Trade Organization protests. I believe we're in Seattle in the 90s. And they sent in agent provocateurs, started smashing things, lighting things on fire. Now all of a sudden a peaceful protest is no longer peaceful.
Right.
They move in the cops, they shut everything down. They had it set up where it was a no protest zone, where you couldn't even have a pin that had the WTO with a red line through it. They wouldn't let you go in through to go to work. So you couldn't protest, you couldn't exercise your First Amendment rights. You couldn't even have a peaceful protest, a fucking sticker on your car. You couldn't have that. It's crazy.
It is crazy. So no, I think we're very much at a fork in the road in destiny, I mean, the reason I did the Twitter acquisition was it's like, man, if I don't do this, I think we're screwed. Is the issue.
Well, if you didn't do it, no one else was gonna do it because it wasn't a financial winner. It was kind of a crazy move.
It's a crazy move. I mean, the thing was way overpriced, and like long term, I think we can ultimately make it a win for investors. But boy, this is a hard way to make a living.
Well, there's also a concerted effort to suppress it. There's a concerted effort with the advertisers.
Well, we had I still have a massive advertiser boycott that was organized by a bunch of left-wing NGOs. Like and you always want. And I should have brought my. I have a hat. Make Orwell fiction again.
The height on that logo is fucking insane.
Yeah, I should have brought. I was gonna wear my. I should have brought my Make Orwell fiction hat again. But yeah, I mean it's just totally nuts. So
if you didn't do it, no one would have. And here's the hilarious narrative that I keep hearing from idiots. Elon's a bad businessman. Twitter is worth, 400% less than when he bought it. No, it wasn't worth that in the first place.
It wasn't worth that in the first place.
It wasn't worth $44 billion, you fucking morons. Yes. Wrong. And also, you're not taking into account the advertiser boycott.
Exactly.
That's total bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. So there are these organizations, like you can tell there's they're like when they have an Orwellian name. So like the Center for Countering Digital Hate
right.
is a total scam organization. Because they're like the Ministry of Truth, in Orwell. They're a censorship organization.
Yeah.
And they organize and they pushed the advertisers to boycott. So we still have some of the boycott is starting to lift. And I think if Trump wins, we'll see probably most of the boycott lift. But if Kamala wins, we'll see that boycott get stronger. And they'll friggin' shut down. There's no way that the sort of Kamala public regime would allow X to exist.
You really think that they'll be able to shut it down, though? Is there a pathway to that?
Yes.
What would they do?
Well, I mean, they can stick the DOJ on and say they have this whole thing about hate speech, misinformation, whatever. Except that they're the ones pushing the misinformation. But that doesn't stop them from filing massive lawsuits and using the DOJ. I mean, the DOJ has been attacking SpaceX, for example, for not hiring asylum seekers, even though it is legal for SpaceX to hire anyone who's not a permanent resident of the U.S. So we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. There's an example of what DOJ can do.
So it's illegal to hire someone who's not an American citizen.
What SpaceX is considered an advanced weapons technology. So it's covered by international traffic and arms regulations because we make rocket technology that can be used against the United States. It's like if North Korea or Iran got SpaceX rocket technology, they could use that to launch nukes at America.
Right.
That would be bad.
Yeah, that'd be really bad.
That'd be really bad. So we're since we are in the most extreme category of weapons technology at SpaceX, under U.S. ITAR law, it is illegal for us to hire anyone who's not a permanent resident, because the presumption is that if they're not a permanent resident, they're going to return to their home country and take the rocket technology with them. So it's illegal for us to hire anyone who's either has not a permanent. They can have a green card or be a citizen. They just have to be a permanent resident.
1748.
Then there's another law that says if you discriminate against asylum seekers, you're also breaking the law. So the DOJ can only do a small number of big lawsuits every year. Launched a giant lawsuit against SpaceX, saying that SpaceX discriminated against asylum seekers, and we're like, but it's illegal for us to hire anyone who's not a permanent resident. So we're in this this is what I mean. It's like the Orwell situation is getting insane. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. So you're damned.
Can you imagine history looking back at when you watch the robot arms catch the rocket and you realize this is one of the greatest accomplishments in the history of aerospace. It is one of the most wildest accomplishments. Yeah. When you watch that thing come and you see all those people cheering and it catches it perfectly, holy shit. Imagine how history is going to look back at the DOJ going after that company.
Yeah.
How insane it is.
Big lawsuit. An army of lawyers. This was not some minor thing.
But it doesn't even make any sense. Logically, how can it even get brought to court if it's illegal?
That's exactly. So that's what I mean. Basically, if the government wants to go after you, they'll just find a reason. It's like that famous quote from Beria. Like Stalin's like chief torturer, the head of Stalin's secret police, and he's like chief torturer, truly evil human being. Like this guy Beria, his one of his famous quotes was, "Show me the man, and I'll show you the crime."
Right.
They decide that you're the target, and then they figure out the crime afterwards. That's the issue. They decided SpaceX was the target. They just figured out the crime afterwards.
Which is so crazy because that's exactly what they're saying Trump is going to do if he gets into office.
They're doing all the things that they accuse Trump of doing.
Yeah. Openly. Yeah.
I mean, the sheer number of hoaxes that the Democratic Party is pushing over and over again. And it's like, look, I understand like politicians are going to, exaggerate. They're going to misspeak, and they'll tell occasional, untruths, whatever. That's how it is in politics. But when you have deliberate, concerted, repeated pushing of hoaxes, you're like, wait a second, like, come on, man, this is too far.
And you're supposed to be the good guys.
You're supposed to, and you claim to be the good guys. I'm like, exactly.
You're supposed to be the progressives.
Yes, the Dems are like, oh, we're the good guys. We're the honest people. No, hang on. You can't claim to be the good guys. You can't claim to be the honest people if you're deliberately pushing hoaxes that have been debunked thoroughly.
Yeah.
Well, we're like even Snopes, which is a liberal thing, says it's bogus.
Yeah.
Like the Fine People hoax.
Obama just said that on stage.
Obama just said that. I was like, what the flying fuck?
He doesn't give a fuck. They're just going for it.
Goddamn fucking lie.
Flat out lie.
Flat out fucking lie.
How about the other one where Kamala's campaign used what Trump was saying about protecting women and from illegal immigrants?
Thank you.
Remember that? What he was saying is, if the women like it or not, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
When he was saying that, they were trying to say that he was taking away women's right to choose, whether women like it or not. Like, that's not what he was saying.
Absolutely.
He was literally talking about protecting them from dangerous people that are sneaking in through the border.
Yes, exactly. They'll take like not even a full sentence, like a half a sentence from and then they'll push it on every ad, every speaking event, every
and it gets
media.
Repeated on the news.
Yes.
This is what's crazy. They'll talk about it on these news shows, news shows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a recent one that came up, which had a lot of people, because a lot of people reached out to me, was like, they're like, oh, Trump says he wants to execute Liz Cheney. I'm like, that is utter bullshit.
It's not what he said at all.
It's not what he said at all. All he said was like, what he's saying is that, look, if Liz Cheney actually had to fight at the front lines, should think twice about going to war.
Exactly.
That like it's easy to go to war. It's easy to be a warmonger if you don't have to, risk dying at the front lines. Like basically it's fucked up if people are having like fancy dinners in Washington D.C. While people are being slaughtered in trenches. It's like you're not feeling the pain.
Exactly.
You're not taking the risk. It's someone else dying.
Exactly.
That's cruel and lacking in empathy. And all Trump was saying was that it's like Liz Cheney would be much less of a warmonger because she's a huge warmonger, just like her dad.
What the fuck?
If she actually had to go to the front lines and fight herself.
And meanwhile, they're saying that he's saying she should be shot.
Yes, which is a total lie. But I had like tons of people call me this weekend saying, "Oh, Trump says he's gonna put Liz Cheney in a firing squad." I'm like, that is an outrageous lie. And legacy media ran with that lie, big time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just wild to see. And if it wasn't for Twitter or X now, I don't think we would know about all this stuff. I think it would be very difficult for you. I think YouTube throttled. They did something weird. They won't say what they did, but they did something weird with the Trump interview that I did.
Yeah,
where you couldn't find it.
It doesn't make sense. It
made no sense.
I mean, it was like the biggest interview on earth.
Yeah,
and you can't find it.
Yeah. Not only that, it wasn't trending.
Bullshit.
It wasn't trending.
It wasn't trending.
No, it wasn't trending.
You're like, there's just no excuse for that, man.
No excuse.
There's no excuse.
It was getting 1 million views. 1.4 an hour at one point in time? 1.5 an hour.
Yeah.
And it wasn't trending.
Yeah. And it's like your channel is a known channel. It's not like it was started yesterday. It's like
yeah.
It's like this is a high trust. Yours is a high trust channel. It's like you're not trying to scam crypto coins or something. So.
Well, thank God we put it on X as well.
Yeah.
Because I think just with your account and my account alone, it's like 70 million views.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's like you can't hide things anymore because of you. And if it wasn't for you, I think they would have had total control of social media by now.
Yeah.
They would have they banned so many accounts during the pandemic, so many dissenting scientists and doctors and physicians. They banned so many conspiracy theorists, so many people that colored outside the lines. They would have done that everywhere, and it probably would have. I think even at what's going on at Facebook, they're being more lenient. You hear Zuckerberg talking about taking a more libertarian stance. That's entirely reaction to the way Twitter has kind of moved the watermark.
Exactly. So, as soon as any company steps out of line and is willing to actually have the truth debated on their platform, it forces the other platforms to allow things to be more truthful, to not censor, because their censorship becomes glaringly obvious.
Yes. Yes.
And the best thing I found as a rebuttal, like if there's a hoax, is just go to the source material. If somebody thinks, Trump said that we should put Liz Cheney in a firing squad, I'm like, let me send you a link to X so you can watch his video. That's the best way.
Yes.
Don't take my opinion for it. Don't take anyone's opinion for it. Go to the source material.
And community notes.
Yes, and community notes.
Community notes is the best.
It's awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets checked.
Yes, including me.
Yeah.
And with community notes, all the software is open source, and all the data is open source. So you can recreate any given note independently.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Total, absolute transparency in every way. Sometimes I get asked like, "Oh, Elon, can you remove a note?" Mostly by the left, but sometimes by the right. I'm like, I don't even remove notes on my own account. Nothing. And by the way, everything is totally open. So if I did that, it would stick out like a sore thumb. Immediately. Like, it's not going to be subtle.
That is the best counter to misinformation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, let everybody look at it and say, okay, here's what the actual facts say.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The counter to misinformation is better information.
Not just that, but having it checked in real time by the community. So you have millions of people that can go over it and debate whether or not this is true or that's true.
Yes, and like I said, like the best way to understand the truth of things is don't take anyone's opinion for it. Look at the source material. It's like, look at what someone actually said. Look at what someone actually did. Look at the real videos of the situation, and then you'll know what's real.
So, as of today, when you were literally on your way here, you sent me this text saying that they're trying to lock you up in jail in Pennsylvania. Tell me what the fuck is happening.
Well, there's the classic sort of Soros DA situation. So we're making a lot of progress in Pennsylvania. So I've given a whole bunch of talks throughout the state, because Pennsylvania is the linchpin in this election. Whoever wins Pennsylvania wins the election. So I've been giving talks. I spent 3 years in Pennsylvania. I went to college in Philadelphia. So it's not like I'm not a total stranger to the state. I spent 3 years there. And we organized this petition in support of the Constitution, which I think is a good thing, and specifically asking people to and we wanted this to be like registered voters in swing states. Like, basically, I want to send a message to the politicians to say that the people care about the Constitution, because there have been all these attacks on the Constitution. They've been, especially on the Democrat side, they've been repeatedly saying that the First Amendment is an obstacle. And they're claiming, oh, the First Amendment is enabling disinformation, misinformation. And I'm like, there's a reason for the First Amendment. Like, freedom of speech. The reason the founders of the country put the freedom of speech there is because they came from countries where if you spoke your mind, you would get shot or imprisoned. That's why the First Amendment exists. And the Second Amendment is there to stop the tyranny of government. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is there to protect freedom of speech. And I've had these debates, especially with people in LA, because they're like, want to take everyone's guns away. And I'm like, can you guarantee me that that we will never have a tyrannical government in the United States? Can you make that guarantee? They're like, well, nobody can make that guarantee. I'm like, then we need to keep our guns, because that's what's going to stop it.
That sounds crazy for people to hear because they think about gun violence and gun problems and gun this and gun that. But that's the reality of the world that we live in, is that tyranny is possible and it exists other places, and it's slowly existing. It's slowly rearing its head in the UK. You're seeing, I think the number of people that have been arrested for just social media posts is bananas. It's in the thousands.
Yes, several thousand people have been given prison sentences in the UK for social media posts where there was no explicit link to actual violence, but they just said it encouraged violence. Like, well, did anyone actually do anything as a result of that media post? Well, no, but they just and then they have a prison overcrowding situation in the UK, so they're quite literally releasing convicted pedophiles and putting people in jail for Facebook posts. That's an actual thing happening in Britain.
That is so wild.
Yeah,
it's so wild that people can't see
what the fuck, is going on.
And what's insane to me
is
Orwell
fiction again.
Yeah. But it's all being encouraged by the left. Ketanji Brown Jackson, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton.
Kerry was one of the people who said that he's on camera like a few weeks ago saying that the First Amendment is an obstacle to fighting misinformation.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's such a crazy thing to say when you have a solution in community notes. Yes, you have a solution in something like that could clear everything up, any confusion within a day or two.
And even without a community note, you can reply to a post and with evidence that shows that the post is wrong. You don't even need community notes. I mean, community notes is helpful because it sticks to the original note.
Yes.
But in the replies, you can say, here's why you're wrong, here are the reasons, and here's the evidence.
But the argument is that people are too unsophisticated, that they're not going to research these things. They're going to be a victim of misinformation. So they're going to read something that's incorrect. They're going to run with it. People are going to die. We're going to ruin the world because people believed in misinformation. It's a stupid argument.
It's a stupid argument.
Because it's an argument that they're too dumb to know what's right or wrong. If you know, because you're saying it's misinformation, why do you think that you're smarter than everybody who reads that?
Exactly. And obviously anyone on the X system knows that things are posted and then there are replies and there are rebuttals and it's immediately corrected. But where are the corrections for the legacy media?
Right.
If some broadcast media, they say false things all the time, but it's a one-way street. There's no rebuttal. There's no counter.
Right. Who's apologized for being incorrect about what? Did Rachel Maddow ever apologize for telling everybody that if you get the COVID vaccine, you're never going to get COVID? The virus stops with you.
No, never.
Never.
Yeah.
No one ever. It was not true at the time. There was no evidence to support it at the time. It's pure propaganda. And she said it, the Russiagate hoax. For 3 fucking years, they said that he was Putin's toy, and that Putin had him compromised. The Steele dossier.
The Steele dossier was completely fabricated by a lawyer at Perkins Coie, who was paid by the Clinton campaign. Literally.
Crazy.
And still people think the Russia hoax is real.
And there's no repercussions.
Yes.
No one had to apologize. Hillary Clinton never came out and apologized for that. People still listen to her. The whole thing's crazy. And it's all coming from the left, which... Growing up as a person who was in the left my whole life, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Same. I mean, I was on the left until like 3 years ago. It's
not the left anymore.
It's not the left anymore. It's just like I think we obviously want. I mean, I believe like we want freedom. Like we want to maximize personal liberty. I think we want to be kind to people. We want to have empathy. But it's very important to have personal freedom and a merit-based society. And the left wants to oppress your freedoms, especially freedom of speech, and they want to have a non-merit-based society, with race-based and sex-based preferences. And it's like, well, wait a second. No, we just want people to succeed based on their skills and their hard work.
And if they don't want people to express themselves about particular issues, then they're not doing the will of the people. And if they're trying to suppress people's ability to communicate, they're only doing that because they want to do things that people don't want them to do.
Yes.
And they want to silence opposition. That's all it is. And the 100%. Fact that people can't see that and they want to call Trump a fascist, the whole thing is it's just through the looking glass. It's just.
I mean, it's like one hoax after another that they're portraying against Trump. I mean, like they try to call the rally at Madison Square Gardens like a Nazi rally. I'm like, there was like literally an Israeli flag in the audience. I think like a quarter of the speakers were Jewish. Like there were people of every race, color, creed, religion at that rally. Like, tell me what about that is Nazi?
No,
and yet it was portrayed as a Nazi rally.
Well, MSNBC, they literally showed video of the Nazi rally from 1930s and then compared it to the Trump rally. Now, ignoring the fact that fucking Jimmy Carter spoke there.
There have been dozens of political rallies at Madison Square Gardens. Dozens on the Democrat side. Like people on X were like, and here's Jimmy Carter, and here's
at a Nazi
Bill
rally,
Clinton, and here's wait a second. Actually, it looks like every presidential candidate has done on the Democrat side has done a rally at Madison Square Gardens. Are they Nazis too?
But what they're doing is they're preying on low information voters who aren't engaged actively on social media, who don't have the time to look through everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like people are living. If people are just on looking at legacy mainstream media, then they have a totally different worldview than if they're on X and seeing the actual flow of argument.
Yes.
And the actual evidence.
Well, what was the pushback? Like, what happened when you guys released the Twitter files? Because I think the Twitter files is probably one of the most important things in this age of information for understanding the influence that government has on social media and on discourse. Because when we found out that was the case, that the government was actually asking Twitter to remove posts that were factual,
all the time.
They did the same thing to Facebook. They had them throttle pieces of one of Tucker Carlson's show. They suppressed the views by 50%.
Yeah.
Of factual information.
Yeah, no, there was massive government interference in Twitter, but like Twitter welcomed it. That's important. All Twitter welcomed it. All Twitter was controlled by far left activists.
Yeah.
So they welcomed the government interference. They got paid by the government for it.
That's crazy. They got paid for their time, correct?
Yeah, they got paid millions of dollars for suppressing information.
So it's like build
and a bunch of it was like flat out illegal. Like the FBI had this sort of magic portal into the Twitter system, but all of the communication in that in this portal was auto deleted after 2 weeks, which breaks federal FOIA laws. So we don't even know what was said because it was all deleted after 2 weeks.
That's insane.
Yeah,
that's so crazy. It's so crazy that people thought that was okay.
It's super not okay.
No, it's super not okay. It's unconstitutional, and no one would want that. No one would want the government to have that kind of access.
Exactly.
And what was the blowback like when all that stuff got released? Like, you had to anticipate that there was going to be problems when you released that. Like, what happened?
Well, we got we did lose a lot of advertising dollars,
which is crazy because it's essentially like one of the most important forms of journalism is exposing government corruption.
Yes, I mean this is the weird thing. It's like the left used to be big on exposing government corruption, but once they control the government, they no longer want to expose the government corruption.
Right. They want to pretend that the left-wing government's incapable of corruption because we're on the good side.
I think it maybe just like whoever's in power kind of doesn't want the other side heard, because as you pointed out, like the left historically, up until I don't know, maybe even 10 years ago or something like that, was the free speech party, and now it's the anti-free speech party, and they use words like oh well, we have to be against hate speech and misinformation, disinformation, but these are propaganda words. It's like well, who's defining hate speech? Who's defining misinformation? The government. Do you really trust the government to make that definition? The whole point of the First Amendment is like, you do not trust the government.
Well, especially when they're wrong.
Yes,
there's no repercussions.
Yes.
Yeah, like with the whole lab leak theory, you would get kicked off of YouTube if you even presented this argument that, hey, maybe that coronavirus lab where they're doing work on the exact same virus that got released.
Yep.
Hey, maybe that's where it came from, since that's where the virus started. What do you think, guys?
Yeah.
They kick you right off of YouTube.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's like, do you think maybe it could have come from a place called the novel coronavirus Research Institute.
Yeah, like that Jon Stewart bit that he did on Colbert. That was amazing.
Like, what does it say on the door again? Can I see your business card?
And to see Colbert like resisting it with every fiber of his being.
Like, what's going to happen to us?
He was totally cock blocking the bit to the point where Jon Stewart got off his chair and started walking around trying to take control. Man. Yeah, and good on Jon.
And then the left tried to cancel Jon Stewart.
Of course.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he was right.
He's right.
And no apologies. No apologies. Yeah, and the whole Fauci thing, like any criticism of Fauci, it's like anti-science.
He's a demon, if you ask me.
If you read RFK's book, if the real Anthony Fauci, if that's correct, if the facts are in there, that's true, it's all referenced. You could find the sources, and on top of it, he's never been sued for that book, which doesn't make any sense. If he just made a bunch of lies up, he would get sued.
Yes.
So the guy's a monster.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just looking at the lies that he told, the way he tried to define gain-of-function research to Rand Paul.
But I think a lot of people out there don't realize Fauci funded the bioweapons research that was going on in Wuhan. And he bank shot it off, like he can't send the money directly to China, so he just bank shot it off EcoHealth.
Right.
This like fake nonprofit in the U.S. And they sent it to Wuhan.
And Obama put the skids on that. He stopped that in 2014.
Yes, I mean, so to give Obama some credit, he actually was like looking at this and say, "Hey, this is crazy," and we need. And he actually did stop the so-called gain of function, again, a propaganda word, because what is the function they're talking about? Death. Right. So if you actually use the right word, this is gain of function is death maximization.
Right.
Then you're like, hey guys, should we fund bioweapon research into death maximization? Because that's what gain of function means.
Yeah, it means
that's the function.
Making a disease so that people can get it. Give it to people. Yeah, by the way,
what's that function again? Oh, the function is death. Oh, okay. So just call it a death-maximizing virus.
If you're doing research on that, and the idea behind this research is so that we can cure these things, how come you don't have a fucking cure?
Start with a cure. Cure first, disease second.
It doesn't make any sense. Like you guys had no strategy for dealing with it if it got out. And so you have to make up this new vaccine in a record time, Operation Warp Speed, release it to the people with very little testing. It's fucking crazy.
It was crazy.
The whole thing's crazy, and everybody just went along with it.
Looney Tunes next level.
Well, the PSYOP was fascinating to watch people step in line.
That's like one of the biggest PSYOPs of all time.
Of all time. And everybody got in line. And when you take it back to when pharmaceutical drug companies were able to advertise on media in the 1990s, that changed everything. We're one of 2 countries in the whole world that allows this.
Yeah.
And because of that, because we don't have socialized medicine, it's a complete profit scam. Mm-hmm. And they went hard, claiming all sorts of things that were never researched, all sorts of things that are not supported by data, like the fact that it would stop transmission, the fact that it would stop infection, the fact that it was safe for pregnant women, the fact that it was safe for children. All of it's bullshit.
Yes.
And they pushed it on the whole world. And if you didn't say that at a cocktail party, you were a pariah.
Yes.
And you were an anti-vaxxer.
It was totally psycho.
It was like being a Holocaust denier. You got kicked out of polite society.
Exactly.
Fucking bananas.
And I should say, I'm actually generally pro-vaccine overall. I think we should look at these things. But I believe in the scientific method.
Yes.
So you never blanket accept anything. You never blanket accept that any given medication or any given treatment is 100% good. You should always view it with some skepticism.
Especially when you're getting the data from pharmaceutical drug companies that have a long history of criminal
they've got a vested interest.
Conduct.
Yes, they've got a vested interest in the research. It's sort of like asking tobacco companies about, whether smoking is dangerous.
It's exactly the same thing.
Like, according to our scientists, everything's fine.
Yeah, they lied in court forever. The same thing they did with OxyContin when they said that it wasn't addictive. They have a long history of being full of shit if it makes them money. And that's what they do. That's their business.
They've literally lost multi-billion-dollar lawsuits up in this.
Massive. They're in you have amazing scientists, right? You have these clinical researchers, these people that develop these incredible drugs, and this is their job. Their job is to figure out some new way to cure something, some new way to stop things. And then you have the money people.
Sure.
And the problem is when you have this one thing that you would assume they're only doing it to help people, and then they have this other faction that they're all just numbers people, and all they give a fuck about is maximizing profits and making sure they literally have an obligation to their shareholders. They have to make the most amount of money possible, and so they just want to push it on everybody, like the Vioxx scandal. There's internal emails showing they knew there was going to be cardiovascular events. People were going to get strokes.
Yeah.
And they're like, I think we're still going to do well. And they did. They made like $12 billion. They got fined $7 billion. And 50 to 60,000 people died.
Holy shit.
Yeah. One of them was a friend of mine, got a stroke.
And died?
No, he didn't die.
Okay.
He lived, but he was a really healthy guy.
But he was psyched out the same afterwards.
Yeah, his knee problems, and he took Vioxx, and all of a sudden he was slurring his words, and he couldn't concentrate, and people were like, I think you're having a fucking stroke, and they took him to the hospital, and then you have this giant class action lawsuit, and then Vioxx gets pulled from the market, and they get sued, and the whole thing's fucking crazy, but there's a long history of this. I think, what is the number? Like 1/3 of the drugs that the FDA approves gets pulled? It's fucking bananas.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy. You're shitty at 1/3 of the things that you say are okay, but yet you're trying to stop MDMA therapy for veterans?
Yeah, they should let MDMA through, honestly. I think that would actually help a lot of people.
It would help a lot of people.
It would help a lot of people.
There's a lot of different therapies, specifically psilocybin, ibogaine.
Yeah.
The fact that you have to go to Mexico to get ibogaine therapy for veterans. So many guys I've talked to have gone over there, and it's like completely giving them a clean slate, refresh their mind, and totally new perspective on life, alleviated depression, cured addictions.
Yeah.
Illegal.
Yeah.
Illegal. OxyContin, go get it.
Yeah. And I know some people who, like, their life was ruined by OxyContin. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, it really depends on somebody's individual biochemistry. Like, to me, opioids are not addictive to me. Like, I've had them when I've had operations or something, and they barely affect my pain level, and they make me like itchy and uncomfortable.
They make me stupid.
Exactly. But I'm like, like I could never get addicted to alcohol or opioids. It's just impossible. Like, because my biochemistry just does not have but I love tasty food. I feel like, if there's, I'm addicted to tasty food, sure. But like there's could be like I have a whole wall of alcohol. It's there for decoration.
Yeah.
I haven't touched it. Basically.
I feel the same way. I could easily quit alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go weeks without having a drink.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me at all. But I know some people, they have one drink and they're off to the races. And that's the difference in the biochemical differences that we all have.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the case with a lot of addictions. I'm not addicted to gambling, but I get it. I see it. I've seen it in people. But I have this aversion to things that I know are going to ruin my life. Like I see it. That's why I've never tried cocaine. I just saw too many people. It looks too fun. I'm like, I don't want to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally for any given drug, legal or illegal, you could. The question is, can you complete the following sentence? Blank made me a better person.
Meth.
Like, I've never heard anyone say meth made them a better person or cocaine made them a better person.
No.
Ever.
Made a lot of soldiers better, I think. That's
I mean, if you're doing, if you're like, if your soldiers need to march for 3 days in a row,
it's really
meth
good
is
for that.
effective at that, like people give France a hard time about capitulating in World War II, but you know what's worse than Nazis? Nazis on meth.
Nazis.
They're not stopping.
Norman Ohler
they'll
wrote
have like 6 bullets. They're like they're still coming.
That book over there, Blitzed, is all about the use of methamphetamines and the different drugs that they gave their soldiers. The guys at the front of the line that gave the most meth.
Yes.
They have different dosages.
Yeah. I mean, you just basically think you're invulnerable on meth, and so it's one thing. Like I said, so one thing, have like the be Nazis come after you, but Nazis on meth, you're like, holy shit, those fuckers are not stopping.
For 3 days,
they're not stopping.
It's so crazy. Yeah. That's not a statement. Meth made me a better person that you hear very often.
I've never heard that before.
No, you hear a lot of like psilocybin advocates. You hear a lot of people that talk about psychedelics.
Exactly. I've actually heard many people say that LSD or mushrooms or MDMA made them a better person.
Yeah.
Many people.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I think a rule for the FDA should be like, hey, look, if you can complete the sentence, legal or illegal, that blank made you a better person, actually.
Yeah.
Then then you got a good drug. And if you can't, you got a bad drug.
Also, if there's drugs that are available right now that can absolutely ruin people's lives, the rationalization for stopping other drugs that might ruin people's lives but also can help a lot of people's lives, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's basically the same thing as censorship. You're taking away people's ability to discern what's true and not true, and you're taking away people's ability to discern what's good for you and not good for you. And the way to find that out is to have as much information as possible.
Exactly.
So to do research and actually to have unbiased, actual objective observers who are looking at all this stuff that give you real data.
Yes.
And the opposite of that, or the counter to that, is like, if you don't do that, you're empowering cartels.
Yes.
That's the whole reason why they have all that money. It's because it's illegal to sell these drugs in America. The demand is never going away. So instead of like limiting the amount of drugs, now you've got toxic drugs because fentanyl and all this other shit is because they're not pure. So you're just killing people. You're not saving anybody by protecting them from themselves.
True.
But it's a tricky situation because what do you do? Like if you just like say, okay, now everyone can sell, all these people that have been selling boner pills, now you can sell meth. Like, holy shit!
you get the double combo with the Viagra. It's a Viagra and a meth.
Right. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, how many people are already doing that right now with Adderall and Viagra? Yeah. There's a lot of people out there that are essentially on meth.
Yeah.
Especially people that abuse Adderall.
Yeah.
They're basically amphetamine up all day long.
Adderall is low grade amphetamine.
Yeah.
I have actually seen people like become much worse people if they take too much Adderall, like much worse. You know, it's like an aggro amplifier. So there's now I'm not saying like Adderall is something like where there are pluses and minuses. It's not a clear cut issue.
Right.
It does help some people a great deal. But in higher doses, man, that stuff I've seen people turn into just raging monsters on high doses of Adderall. Just they're just angry, like extremely angry, all the time.
Yeah, they're methed up.
That's what happens if you take meth.
It's crazy.
You turn it like meth turns you into a friggin' rage demon.
And so many prescriptions.
And I'm like, Jesus.
We Googled it. Like 1 year, there was like 39 million prescriptions for Adderall in this country.
Oh yeah. Like once in a while, there's like an Adderall shortage, and like there's like widespread panic.
And then what do people do? And then it's the same thing as like when they tried to like limit the amount of OxyContin. Well, people go to street heroin. And if you're addicted to Adderall and your dealer, the guy who sells you weed, is like, hey man, I can get you like low grade meth, like the stuff the Nazis took. Like,
well, they had high grade meth. Actually, they had pharmaceutical grade. They had epic meth. It was like made by like pharmaceutical grade meth is going to be like I mean, just look at the friggin' online Wikipedia page, but there's like many different versions of meth. Like, not all the same, and they have different effects. But like a pharmaceutical grade pure meth, you are going to be, oh my God,
super productive
for a certain period of time, and you're not going to sleep for a while, and then you'll have some anger management issues. So they actually the Nazis, they did actually roll back how much meth they were using, because they had quite a few incidents of the soldiers killing their officers because they were on too much meth.
Jesus Christ!
So they would shoot shit. That too many officer got fragged by their platoon that was on too much meth, because that happened quite a few times. Like you just. When someone's on a lot of meth, they can get very angry.
Did you ever pay attention to when John McAfee was cooking meth in a lab in his backyard?
I mean, McAfee's quite a character.
He was a character.
Man.
We had him on the podcast when he was on the run. So he called in from an undisclosed location when he was running from. Where was he? Costa Rica? Is that where he was?
Belize,
yeah. Right. So when he was running from the authorities, he called in. We had him on the podcast on the run. And I was asking him about these posts, like, because there was an online account that was linked to him where he had this very detailed laboratory, like super sophisticated, making the best meth. like a super genius cooking meth.
I mean, I think he had this lab, like he was making like a wide range of drugs. And there's I talked to actually like a reporter who went down and like interviewed him in Belize. And Porter said, man, this is one of the scariest things. He was quite terrified. So like one of the things that McAfee he had, I guess, this trick where he would play Russian roulette with himself. So he'd put a bullet in the revolver, and then spin the chamber. And clearly he had like some like trick to know that it was not. There's some way that he knows it's not the right bullet. But I do wonder, like, if McAfee's high and he does that, he's not always going to get the trick right. You
sure he had a trick, or maybe
So according to this reporter, when he went to visit McAfee in Belize, McAfee took out the revolver, put a bullet in the revolver, spun the chamber, and then pointed at his head and went click. And the reporter's like saying, "Please don't do this. Like, this is insane." Click, click, click. And then pointed the gun at the ground, and Nix went click, bang, and shot a bullet in the ground.
Jesus.
That's a hell of a party trick.
Jeez.
This is the next level party trick.
That's the guy who's seen The Deer Hunter too many times.
Yes.
Remember that scene? Where they were forcing...
Yes.
Yeah. Woo, that's a heavy scene.
That's a heavy scene.
De Niro and Christopher Walken. That's one of the greatest scenes in any movie ever. I remember watching that scene just like clawing at my pants. Like,
yeah.
McAfee was a wild boy.
Wild.
And created brilliant antivirus software.
Yeah. He may have made some of the viruses too.
You think so? Well, didn't he like give laptops to a bunch of government organizations
with viruses on them?
So that he could like pay attention to what they were doing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody whacked that guy. I don't know what happened to him, but he would be a guy that would be like, this guy is a little bit too loose.
And probably had sensitive information. I don't know.
For sure he did.
I mean, I found him to be an interesting guy. I mean, like I'm generally like feel like if somebody's not harming someone else, they should be okay. Now, there is some suggestion that McAfee like killed his neighbor in Belize. So
probably did. Maybe the neighbor was a douchebag.
I think he probably did.
Seems like he probably did. Seems like the neighbor killed his dog.
Yes.
Right, and then it seems like he killed the neighbor.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I mean.
It seems likely.
It's not a zero possibility.
It's definitely not zero.
He's
seems more likely than not.
He's a messed up wild man playing Russian roulette. Hey, maybe you kill your fucking neighbor.
Yes.
I mean, if somebody killed your dog, you'd be really inclined to kill them too.
Yeah.
Somebody killed your squirrel.
Yeah, John Wick.
Yeah. The fucking squirrel thing is bananas.
Yeah.
That squirrel thing in New York?
Thing, so here's the thing about the whole squirrel thing is that how can it be that we live in America, supposedly land of the free, and the government can barge into your home with guns, so if you resist, you're going to get shot, and then take your pets and execute them. And if they can do that to your pets, what do you think they can do to you?
I know that's not an exaggeration.
Absolutely.
It sounds like you're oh, that's so crazy. How can you make that connection? But why would you kill that cute little squirrel that was obviously a pet and trained from the time it was a baby? Yeah. If you see the interaction that guy has with that squirrel, it was wonderful. It was really cute.
Yes, absolutely. It was just obviously it was a beloved pet squirrel, and a raccoon too, and doing no harm, and the government comes in, barges into the guy's house, takes his pets, and kills them. And I think this should really get people out there mobilized, frankly, because everything you say that like the John Wick movie, where John Wick's like, he just wants peace, like in the John Wick movie, he just wants to. He's like, listen, I want to retire, and they offer him like tons of money, like because they want him to be an assassin, to keep being an assassin, like they're like. They like offer him tons of money. They threaten him. He's like, listen, I'm not going to be. I'm out. And they kill his dog. That was a bad idea. That was
They killed a cute little puppy, and the puppy was his ex-wife's gift to him when she died of cancer.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Great movie.
The best revenge movie of all time. Because it's so ridiculous. He kills everybody.
Yeah, he kills everyone.
And you're rooting for him.
Yeah. They shouldn't have killed his dog.
Yeah, they fucked up, and they shouldn't have killed that squirrel.
They shouldn't have killed that squirrel. I mean, it's like how many cases have we not heard about? You know?
Oh, look at that little guy. And that squirrel clearly had a love relationship with that guy. He would hop all over him and climb on him. I mean, that was his pet. That squirrel thought of that man as his protector, as his companion.
Yes.
There was nothing wrong with that. And in Texas, it's totally legal. You can have a fucking zebra out here. You can have whatever you want. And that's the argument for freedom. And, you know, the flip side is you get a bunch of people with tigers in their backyard, which is not great.
It's like, this was a fucking squirrel. It's not It's not an anaconda or a crocodile or something that's
or a chimpanzee. Did you see Chimp Crazy?
Oh man, chimps will eat your face. Okay?
They will fuck you up.
They will fuck you
they don't
up.
even. The thing is, they don't even kill you. They just cripple you. Chimps don't even kill people.
Yeah.
Which is really weird. They just bite your hands off and bite your dick off and tear your face apart.
Yes.
They want to leave you. They could kill you easily. If a chimp wanted to just punch you in the head until you're dead, it wouldn't take long. But they don't kill you. They just rip you apart.
Yeah.
And you can have a chimp. And you used to be able to have a chimp in a lot of states, and then Chimp Crazy kind of exposed a lot of that. And PETA did a great job of stopping people from keeping chimps as pets. Because once they hit like 5, you can't control them anymore.
Well, it's obviously totally understandable if somebody's got, a creature that is dangerous to others. But like, obviously a squirrel and a raccoon are not.
Well, squirrels are fucking everywhere. That's what's so crazy.
Yeah,
why can't you have it in the house? What kind of rules are we dealing with? You have rats everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, they're allowing criminals to go free and like violent criminals to go free, but they're like spending your tax dollars to come in and execute your fucking pets. What the hell's going on?
Exactly.
And it's like,
but it's overreach.
It's government overreach, and this just keeps getting worse every year, and that's why we've got to fight back against this. It's people say like, well, it's just a squirrel. Well, it was in John Wick's case, it was just a dog.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
remember the Russian guy said, it's a fucking dog. It's just a fucking dog.
It's just a fucking squirrel.
Yeah. Well, it's the funniest thing is when...
So...
I just don't understand how anybody can justify it. I don't understand how anybody... it seems to me that in a logical world, all that guy would have to do is say, why don't you see me with this squirrel? This squirrel's a pet.
Yeah.
Like, look, he hops on me, he eats, he sleeps. I can keep a gerbil, but I keep a squirrel. I can have a guinea pig. I can't have a squirrel. I can have a chinchilla. My daughter has a chinchilla. It's adorable. Adorable little thing. Climbs all over. Can't have a squirrel.
Even if they did take a squirrel away, couldn't they have released it into the woods or something?
Well, the idea is you have to euthanize it because it's used to being fed. It doesn't know how to forage. It won't be able to find a home. Squirrels are brutal. Squirrels are absolutely brutal to each other. They throw each other out of trees, which is one of the reasons why squirrels can fall from 30 feet and just kind of bounce off the ground and live. It's a natural adaptation because squirrels, during mating, they bite each other. There used to be a rumor. There was a myth that squirrels bite each other's nuts off, and that seems to be a myth. But it came out of the fact that squirrels are so ruthless during mating. So one female is just running away. I have squirrels in my backyard. I watch it all the time. One female apparently goes into estrus, and all the male squirrels fight to get to her. So they're running up trees and chasing each other around trees, literally throwing each other off trees to try to so if this poor little Peanut, the squirrel, who's used to living with a guy in an apartment, gets out there in the wild world.
Well, fair enough, but at least they have a chance.
Yeah. At least he has a chance. But
have a chance.
How about just leave him with the guy?
Yeah, leave him with the guy for sure.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you killing that squirrel? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and then to add insult to injury, there were a bunch of people on the left who were actually posting that they're glad that MAGA squirrel got killed. Which is fucking...
MAGA squirrel.
Yeah.
The fucking squirrel has an ideology. It's a cute little fluffy squirrel.
Exactly.
Well, it's a nice symbol because most reasonable, compassionate people think that's terrible, and most people who have pets think it's terrible.
So I don't know. I mean, I hope people just go out there and vote for Peanut, man. If nothing else, just vote for Peanut.
They've done such a job of painting Trump as a monster. They've taken the worst things that he's ever said and he's not a perfect person, but guess what? no one's a perfect person. They don't exist.
Really?
This purity test, like if Obama was a perfect person, he wouldn't be lying on stage about that very fine people hoax.
Exactly.
No one's going to be a perfect person, but the thing that they didn't understand about Trump is he's so crazy that if you tell him, like, he can't be president, like, remember Obama did that during that White House press correspondence? There's one thing that I am that you'll never be. President of the United States. You see Trump in the audience going, okay, motherfucker. Like,
the funny thing is, I was actually at that White House correspondence dinner where, it's supposed to be a roast of the president.
Right.
Trump's there. He's there. He's actually supporting. It's basically, if you're the White House correspondence dinner, you're there in support, actually, of the president and support of the press.
Right.
It's meant to be that you're roasting the president. Like, Trump's just there. He's like, actually, he's like there as part of the support. And then they turned it around and just started roasting Trump. And he's just sitting there. He's like, yo, I just came to the dinner. I'm just here to support.
We know what it was because of, right? The birther stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's what it all was. It was all, Trump was at the head of a lot of these people spreading this rumor online that Obama's birth certificate was forged, then he's actually from Kenya. And what's weird is, if you go back to Obama's early days, there are some things that say he's from Kenya. Like, I think in his something from college said he was from Kenya.
Yo, Whiskey Fuel, thanks for the follow, bud.
People print things wrong all the time. It doesn't mean he's actually from Kenya. But Trump was one of those guys that was, like, spreading that supposedly false rumor.
Was he pushing it hard? This is the kind of thing where I want to just go and look at saying, what did he actually say?
No, he definitely was.
Okay.
He was definitely saying, look, I don't think he has the time to go into things like very deeply.
I'm playing so fucking bad
so
on this
I think he could probably be influenced by a bunch of people, like these Marjorie Taylor Greene type people who come to him with some wild ass theory.
Sure.
He might be, and I think there's a lot of that stuff that gets fed to people on purpose so that they'll say incorrect things so that they're easy to dismiss. Sure. And I think there's also a lot of people that just make shit up, and they tell you the Earth is flat, and then a bunch of people watch a YouTube video and they believe it.
Yeah, well, but on that White House correspondence, I was there, and the degree to which they attacked Trump at that White House correspondence dinner was really it was so over the top. It was like making everyone uncomfortable.
Really,
it was really over the top. I think like sort of a passing joke of like, a few passing jokes are fine, but they twisted the knife big on Trump in that, and you can see Trump just getting like angrier and angrier and more upset.
I wonder if
that's because... And I was like, man, this is not good karma, That's what I was thinking at the time. I was two tables away from Trump, and I'm looking, I'm like, man, this is too much,
Well, it's kind of crazy what they made out of that, because that's the kind of guy that if you tell him he can't do something, he's going to just keep trying. Like,
it was a big mistake to rag on him so much at that White House correspondence dinner.
Well, just look at the way they've attacked him with just using the legal system, like this thing in New York where the 34 different felony counts were essentially misdemeanors. That there are bookkeeping errors that they decided, even though it passed the statute of limitations, they decided to try him for these. They didn't identify a felony.
Abuse of the law is what's going on.
But most people would have quit.
Yeah.
Most people, up to the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit, this lawsuit, and all the other ones, the insurrection thing, the Georgia thing, all these different things, they getting kicked off of Twitter. Most people would have just like, this is too much. I can't take this. But he's so fucking crazy. He's like, all right, come on, we're going to war. And he just digs his fucking heels in and keeps going.
Yeah.
It's the wrong guy to do that to. Just like attacking him at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, most people would have been humiliated. He got angry. He's like, yeah, all right. You say I can't be president? I've been thinking about running for about 15 fucking years.
Right.
Finally, I'm going to run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a real bad move. But yeah, I can certainly understand like making some jokes about like, a few sort of passing jokes on Trump, but man, I was there at that dinner and that they ragged on Trump so much it was insane.
The reason why I would push back on that, because I would say there's a bunch of different speakers, right? And Trump would obviously be a target, and if they all attacked him It's because he's like, if you're going to make fun of people in the audience, and especially in the zeitgeist, that whole birther thing was big, and most people were dismissing it as being a ridiculous conspiracy theory. So who the fuck is this guy saying this? Sure. And so you have 8 to 10 individual speakers that are writing monologues. Of course, they're all going to hit Trump.
Yeah, well, anyway, obviously it was a mistake. They shouldn't have done that. But I invite people to watch the original source material, and I think a few jokes are fine. It's like, but it's like he shouldn't be it felt like he was the primary object of the roast. Yeah, which is that's not the whole point of the thing. Is it's a roast of the president, not a roast of the audience.
The thing about it is like he's easy to roast. Then on top of that, Obama was like loved and cherished by the left. Yes. And most of those people are on the left. There's only so far you can push. You can't ask him about a chef. There's like certain what happened with the chef, bro? You can't. There's like certain things you can't bring up.
What's your favorite sport? Paddleboarding?
Yeah. Was that guy a really good swimmer? Tell me what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't bring that up. Like if you're gonna roast Hillary, you can't bring up the death count.
Like Hillary, what's the best way to stay in touch? Email?
It's if you're doing one of those
she destroyed the servers and poured like bleach on the servers, like computers.
She poured bleach on them?
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I believe. Wow. Like it wasn't just like they took a hammer to it. They like destroyed there was no possible way to actually get forensics on the thing.
What was in there?
I mean, what? That's what I mean.
What was in there? What was in there?
Why would they care so much?
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
And there was no legal action against that, which is clear destruction of evidence.
Well, it's also there's this other narrative that always drives me crazy is that he's going to destroy democracy. So in order to destroy democracy, we have to install a president without a primary. Right. We have to have a candidate that is the least liked vice president of all time, the least popular vice president of all time, and then use gaslighting and the full force of the media machine to turn her into the future and hope. Right. And then she's gonna be changed, even though she's the sitting vice president. And then on top of that, this idea of change when the Democrats have been in control for 12 of 16 years? Right. Which is crazy. Like, this is the change.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I view this election as a turning point, like a fork in the road of destiny that is incredibly important. I've not been politically active until this election, and the reason I've been politically active this election is because I think if we don't elect Trump, I think we will lose. We will lose democracy in this country. We will lose the two-party system, and let me explain why. So there's only like six or seven swing states. The margin of victory in those states is small, often like 10 or 20,000 votes. What the Democrat administration has been doing is importing vast numbers of illegals into swing states. You can look at the numbers on the actual government website. Meaning you don't take my word for it. You'll just look at the numbers as reported by the government, which is controlled by the Democrats. And what we're seeing is triple-digit increases in the number of illegals in every swing state. In some cases, 700% increases. These are gigantic numbers. So if you have a state that has a 10 or 20,000 vote margin, and you put 200,000 illegals into that state, you 10x you swamp it's not a swing state anymore. It's going to vote blue, and then once the swing states vote blue, there is no election anymore. There's only a Democrat primary,
which is so crazy, and it's so crazy that people are fine with that.
Well, I guess people on the left will be fine with that because they think that's a good idea.
They just want to win. They just want to win.
Correct. Like the thing is, like one does not need actually any grand conspiracy theory for this. You just have to look at the simple matter of incentives. If the Democrat Party wants to win, like basically achieve permanent victory, all they need to do is turn the swing states blue. They have permanent victory, and then we're a one-party state. And then they will keep doing that. Obviously, they will keep stacking the deck by bringing in vast numbers of illegals into the swing states. Keep stacking it so that the next election, each successive election, will be worse than the last one. And that's what's happening. And if you want to see, like, well, is this actually going to happen? Look at California. California is supermajority Dem, 70% Dem. A month ago, they passed a law making it illegal to show ID in any election in California. So a friend of mine went to vote in Palo Alto because he was like, "Is this for real?" He tried to show his ID, and they reacted like if you show a cross to a vampire. Okay, they're like, "No, we can't even look at that ID." It is illegal for them to even look at your ID if you want to present it in California.
Why?
For any election at all, even like city council.
What logical reason other than to cheat would you ever have that law?
The reason is to cheat.
It's only like you can never make an argument any other way. And I think 84% of people polled believe that you should show ID to vote. So it's against the will of the people.
Yes, and we are extremely rare. We're an outlier in not requiring ID. Basically, almost every country on earth requires ID to vote. So as soon as you ban ID for voting, it makes fraud impossible to prove. Because how do you trace the fraud?
Right. Yeah, it's insane.
It's insane.
It's insane.
And what I'm saying is that
how is it legal?
What I'm saying is like this election is the last chance to preserve democracy in America. Mark my words. Everything they accuse Trump of, they are guilty of. And if Trump doesn't win, this will be the last real election in America. And we will, if the big government Kamala puppet machine wins, they will legalize the illegals in the swing states. There will be no swing states. Every election going forward will be a guaranteed Democrat win, and it'll actually be worse than California. The reason it'll be worse than California is because the one thing that keeps California from being super crazy is that you can move out of California, like you and I did. You and I used to be in California, but we moved to Texas. We're still in America. But if the Dems win this election, they will legalize enough illegals to turn the swing states, and everywhere will be like California. There will be no escape.
That is so insane.
This is the final. This is it. This is the last chance.
Has anybody tried to push back?
And I just want to go out and vote. Vote like your life depends on it. Vote like your future depends on it, because it does. This is the last chance, man.
Is there any argument against this? Has anybody tried to debate this? Has anybody tried to say that this is nonsense? This is a conspiracy? Has anybody made any sort of a rational argument?
The left actually, interestingly, does not want to pick up much on this argument because the more attention the more you look at it, the more obviously it is true. Because you just say like, well, are the numbers correct? Are there really this many illegals that have been imported into swing states? Yes. They haven't just walked across the border. They've been flown in airplanes.
Yeah. Using a shipping app.
Yes.
Yeah.
They made an app.
Well, the app always existed, but it used to be for people coming over here, like shipping with goods, so they could track you while you're in America, so you could legally be here. They know where you are. And then they changed it to allow that app to schedule illegal aliens to come across the border.
Yes.
Asylum seekers.
Yes.
Come on in.
Yes.
Oh, you have an app. And you fly people in.
They're literally being flown in to the swing states. And so the reason that I think the left doesn't want to push back on this is because the more attention that this gets, the more people realize it is true.
Yeah, it is true.
That's why they don't. That's why they're just pretending that they're pretending. I'm not saying anything, but I'm like, yo, they're literally flying vast numbers of illegals who are then beholden to the Democrats. And sometimes I get the rebuttal of people say like, well, you know, these illegals they don't have the same social values as the Democrat Party because they're like more socially conservative. I'm like, yeah, but that's not the point. If you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, their primary thing is staying in the country and getting their friends and family in, and then the Democrats give them all these benefits, like tons of benefits, more benefits than than citizens, literally.
Yeah.
They're beholden to the Democrats for all these benefits. They want to get their friends and family in, which the Democrats support and the Republicans don't. So they vote Dem. And you can look empirically at California and say, like, did they vote Republican or Democrat in California? Oh, they voted Democrat.
Well, Reagan gave them amnesty in the 1980s, and that changed the state basically, except for Arnold. change the state entirely blue.
Yes.
And Arnold was an exception because he was like a socially liberal, famous guy.
Yeah.
And, didn't really impose any radical restrictions on any of the people that were going to vote Democrat in the first place. The whole thing is just, it's bizarre to watch play out because it just seems like this can't be actually what's happening. Did you see my conversation with Fetterman about it?
Yeah.
He was completely in denial about it. I don't think there's that level of organization. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Exactly. Just because you can break it down to are any of these numbers wrong? Because we got these numbers from Homeland Security Government.gov. Okay.
Right.
So we got it from the .gov website. Has the government reported these numbers incorrectly? No, they have not. Those numbers, if anything, are low. So they have in fact flown vast numbers of illegals to swing states.
Yeah.
Bypassing the border entirely. And so that is factually true. Then you say, well, what is their probable voting pattern? Overwhelmingly Democrat into swing states. And then, but do the Democrats actually want to fast track them for citizenship? Yes, they do. You can see Chuck Schumer on TV saying at a rally this year was saying he wants to fast track and make all 11 million, or however many, I believe his quote was, citizens as soon as possible. So the goal is they are fast tracking citizenship as quickly as possible, so they whether one thinks it's shitty or not, it won't matter because they will be fully able to vote.
And for people on the left,
this is actually happening. I invite people to rebut this and show me where I am wrong. Please do so.
No, they can't.
They can't.
They can't
because it's true.
Well, what's scary to me is that there's people that are on the left, like people that were Bernie Sanders supporters, for example.
Yeah, like I got screwed with talk about undermining democracy. Bernie should have won the nomination.
Exactly.
And they stole it from him and gave it to Hillary.
Exactly. That was what I was going to bring up. Like they control the primary process.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you have a Democratic primary, it's not democratic. We just saw that. We saw it with Bernie. We saw it with Kamala. That like a week before Biden was summarily fired, he was posting that he's in it for the long term. He's going.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not giving up. The next thing you know is Sunday afternoon, they're posting on X that he's resigned from the race,
which is.
And his staff didn't even know. Like, they're reading it on the X platform okay, that's how they learned about it.
What do you think happened there? How did they do that? Because
he's clearly just not in charge, obviously.
They could have used the 25th Amendment, right?
Fake president.
But they would have had to admit that there was a certain period of time where they knew that he was mentally compromised.
Yes.
And so they made this decision to not do that.
Well, the weird thing is that the president's supposed to be the boss.
Right.
And yet he's obviously not the boss.
Right. So who's running the country? If she's busy campaigning, she's so busy she can't do anything except Saturday Night Live. She did that. She's so busy. She's constantly campaigning. How could you be paying attention to international relations?
Yeah.
How could you be paying attention to the economy? How could you be paying attention to any of those things? How do you have the time? You can't.
Yeah. I mean, if Biden being... The president's supposed to be the CEO, the chief guy, and he was commander-in-chief. But it's just obviously that Biden was not. He was just a puppet. And when the various puppet masters decided that the puppet it was no longer useful, they just tossed out the puppet and then got a new puppet with Kamala. I mean, Kamala can't even talk. That you invited her on your show. I think the most damage that could possibly be done to a campaign is going on your show and seeing what she says in hours 2 and 3.
2 and 3 is when things get
2
spicy.
and 3. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God.
You can hide for 20 minutes. You can hide for 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just regurgitate talking points for, half an hour, maybe an hour, just where she's just saying like non sequiturs, but eventually she just runs out of non sequiturs.
Well, they wanted to limit it to an hour.
Exactly. That's why.
But I was thinking of doing it initially. Before Trump came here, first of all, when they found out that there was a rumor, I never announced that Trump was coming. What I was going to do is just release it. The way I like to do things, I don't like to tell anybody who's coming on. It'll get big no matter what. Sure. If Trump was on, it would have been huge. I'm like, just put it out there. People go crazy.
Yeah.
But he apparently, or someone from his organization, some loose lips, and then it got out. And so she contacted my management company, and her organization, her campaign contacted us and said, would Joe have her on? I said, yes. And they said, she wants you to fly to where she is, and she's only willing to do 45 minutes.
Only 40. I mean, that's
and I was like, oh, no. So I thought about doing it. I'm like, maybe I can get a sense. Maybe I could convince her. Maybe I could coax her into doing more time. I just wanted to talk to her.
Yes.
Well, I don't give a fuck what we talk about. We talk about recipes. I don't give a shit.
Exactly.
Just talk to me.
The things like you just can't like you can't just output bullshit non sequiturs for 3 hours.
Right.
So for 45 minutes you could do.
I thought maybe for 45 minutes I could get something out of it. But then when Trump came and did the 3 hours, I was like, you know what? It has to be like this. This is the only way.
To be fair, it's going to be like three hours.
And it should be in this room.
Yes.
Because this room is like a history of people expressing
vibes,
themselves.
Actually.
Yeah, it's got good vibes.
Yeah. It does.
Well,
that's true, actually.
I subscribe to the idea that places have memory.
Yeah,
I think there's something real to that. That's
why it does feel that way, actually.
Yeah. I'm sure if you go to Diddy's house, it probably feels real weird. Probably feels weird walking around that house. Probably like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah.
I bet there's some memories in that house. You know?
Sounds rough, man.
Well, it's just amazing how many people in the Diddy party list that are supporting Kamala.
Yeah, seriously. It's like insane.
Publicly, openly, all in.
Yes. It's like J-Lo was like his ex-girlfriend. and it's like now deciding she's like warning people against Trump. I'm like, well, wait a second. So how many people did she warn against Diddy?
Right.
Oh, 0. Okay.
Right.
Well, maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion.
Did you see the Babylon Bees take on it? Did you see the Babylon Bees?
Babylon Bees awesome, but
oh my God, they're so on fire because the left can't say anything.
Let's fucking go, man.
The Onion has been crippled.
Well, the problem is that like the
find that post.
The woke ideology makes like humor illegal.
Yes.
So when like there's so many humor no fly zones.
Right.
You can't make fun of anything.
Yeah. Babylon Bee had a thing about Kamala Harris. Diddy's ex-girlfriend urges Americans to trust her judgment. Yeah. By the way, you get to see how bad an actress she is too. That speech was terrible.
Like if she's going to be warning people, why does she never warn anyone about Diddy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The whole thing is so strange to watch play out. It seems like the Diddy thing was like an Epstein-type compromise deal where he had, whether he was doing it himself, conceivably, people want to think that he's attached to some intelligence agency or something like that. I think he's a gangster who made $1 billion and knew how to control people by compromising them. That's what I think. Whether or not he had help, I don't know. Whether or not he shared some of that information with people so they knew they had compromising stuff on people, I don't know. But clearly he was doing it for his own jollies too. There was something sick about it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that people in the music and entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was like abusing, kids basically. And yet they still fed him kids. Where's the accountability?
There had to be rumors. There had to be. They
had to know.
Yeah.
They had to know.
Cat Williams is talking about it on.
Exactly.
Yeah, on that podcast.
But like who's feeding him the kids?
Right. Yeah, and what videos do they have of these people where they're willing to defend him? And they're willing to keep quiet about all this. Like how many people were compromised?
Yeah.
The whole thing is fucking crazy.
Crazy.
It's just crazy when because the nutty conspiracy theory is just like, oh, there's a bunch of pedophiles in Hollywood. And you're like, come on, that sounds too kooky. And then you see like the Nickelodeon thing and all these, you're like, what the fuck? How much of this is real?
There's a lot more real than I think people realize.
Yeah.
I mean, part of it is like you say, like where, if someone's like a pedophile, they're going to go for a target-rich environment.
Right.
Obviously.
Like that Jimmy Savile guy from the UK.
Man, that guy was some next level. That was next level. And the BBC tried to hide that. That guy was one of the worst, like basically child rapists of all time.
Of all time. Yeah. It looked like one.
It looked like one.
That's what's
honestly,
crazy.
if you had a poster of does this guy look like
the creepiest
like
fucking
an evil,
looking guy.
Evil child rapist. That 100%.
He made it to the grave. like got away with it. Got away with it until he died. They hid it from people until he died.
I can't fucking 127.
Yeah, there's
128.04.
That stuff's real, and no one wants to believe that stuff's real. Like here's a statistic that people need to take into consideration when you think about illegal immigration. Do you know how many kids are missing? Something crazy like that. Let's say it's only 10% of that. That's still insane. That's insane. There's thousands and tens of thousands of kids that have been trafficked potentially. I mean, when you know that like sex trafficking and child trafficking is a real thing in the world, it's real. Yeah. So if you know that, this whole thing is fucking disgusting and terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people are just turning a blind eye to it because their ideology, the left-wing ideology, supports this idea that immigration is overall good and that you have to be a compassionate person to let these people in, and that you're racist if you don't want 20,000 immigrants from a war-torn country being imported into a town of 30,000 people. It completely changes the dynamic of and then.
Let's go, man. Let's fucking go. Let's go, man. Let's fucking go, man. Oh, that shit was sick. That shit was sick as fuck, dude. We did it, boys. We did it. We fucking did it, man.